Hello. Okay, so today we're just going to talk about persistence and what that means. Persistence is an executive functioning task where it's in your frontal lobe, where you continue to do things for a certain goal and you're doing them milliliter by millimeter to get towards a finish line. When it comes to transformation and health, we assume that we're going to get to this finish line of wholeness, but it actually doesn't exist. So being healed and whole in terms of human experience, there is no finish line. And when you're in the diet space, there's this assumption that you're going to keep persisting, you want to keep going, and then you reach the goal, but then the mind looks for something else. So pay attention to when you're saying, I'm going to persist until I succeed. What is the definition of success for you? And is that persistence actually going to create the hungry ghost syndrome where it's never good enough? And if you have that syndrome, sometimes the enjoyment of the goal that you get is lacking, and then you're never celebrated, or it's hard to celebrate, and it's hard to sit still. It's hard to sit with your own thoughts because you're trying to move to the next goal consistently. When you get to wherever you want to go, make sure you sit down and celebrate that. And maybe that's enough. And looking around and celebrating where you're at is good. And sometimes that's really hard for our culture to do because we always want the next project or the next task, which is human nature. But slowing down and sitting around and saying, this was good. And then moving on and closing the first chapter. But if you have this hungry ghost, or thinking something will always be wrong with your health and I need to fix it all of the time, that's a hard place to be. But persistence is good. Never feeling good enough is hard.